Hello everyone, how you doing today? Thank you again for being with Chef Anthony. In my miraculous kitchen, today we're going to step up a notch. Today I'm going to be preparing a Marcella sauce with some mushrooms, and it's going to go over some drumsticks. It's a little bit of an advanced process for most of you guys. Seeing as it that I try to keep it as basic as I need to, but I want to just shift into gear a little bit, kind of more up to my par. But nevertheless, you still have the chance to work it out with Chef Anthony. All right, so first of all, what I'm going to prepare is a vegetable string beans. One of the most important things to us all is that we get our vitamins, and we get it in the greenest of vitamins. Greenest of vitamins provides all your essential vitamins, your A's, your E's, your D's, your B's, your C's. Everything you need is in those green vegetables. So we're going to be using some string beans today, along with some red bell pepper, and what we're going to do with this, and we're going to also smoke it. So I got my pot here, and I'm going to add the ingredients to it, and I'm going to place it on the stove, and it's going to take probably a good 20 minutes, because I want the string beans to be properly cooked, and it does take a little time. One of the dynamics of cooking with cooking string beans, especially if you're from the southern or from the islands, if you a person that has a very unique way of your taste buds, that you want things to be a certain taste, is using smoked meats, because the flavor of the smoked meat gets into the vegetables, and then it gives it a little bit more of a pizzazz or a much more defined taste. I'm going to use something unusual. I'm not using smoked turkey drumsticks. I'm not using ham hocks or just smoked pork itself. I'm actually using smoked beef sausage. Smoked beef sausage. All right. So I'm gonna take the smoked beef sausage. I'm gonna cut it down the middle, so I can basically get two halves. And then I'm gonna cut it in a diagonal of a wedge. Like so. Go ahead and add that to the water. We're gonna open up each bag of these string beans. They're already cleaned and they're already cut. So all we're gonna do is just go ahead and add them into the water, and then we're gonna flavor the water with the bell peppers, the smoked beef, and we're gonna add some garlic and just flavor it up, so that in the process while it's cooking, it's getting everything all together. Depending on how many you have in your family, you go for whatever amount of string beans that you feel is appropriate for your occasion. I'm going to utilize all of these because one thing I love about string beans is that once you have already finished cooking it, you could always use it for another dish another day. And though these dishes can come to a finished product, always keep this in mind, is that nothing goes to waste. Not in Chef Anthony's kitchen. Nothing goes to waste. So I say that to say this, is that a finished dish may be the ending of one particular main dish, but it can evolve into another dish. And we're going to see whether or not that's going to turn out to be one of these cases. It all depends on what may be as a remaining factor after everyone have been served out of this first batch. Every now and then in the batch, you might find a one that's turning a bit out of its full fluorescent green look. So if that be the case, you can just remove it. One less from the bunch won't damage, but at least you don't want to spoil your dish either. All right. All of these are hard and ready to go to work. And I'm going to go ahead and add my smoked beef sausages that I already sliced up. In addition to that, I'm going to go ahead and add in my red peppers. I have just a tad bit of it left on the table. Removing the seeds. As well as the stem. And I'm going to cut that up. And I'm going to also add that to that batch. I had a little bit of yellow bell pepper, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that in there. I would have just kept it all red, but not a big deal. Any pepper will do. But the reason for the colors is so that it could be more creative. The more designable your dish look is, the more appetizing it is to anyone, or that's intriguing to anyone that wants to dive in and to take a peek look at it for themselves. So I'm going to add some chopped fresh garlic to that, as well as 3 tablespoons of salt. You may have to add just a little bit more, and some complete seasoning. I'm also going to add in a few pieces of some onions in there, and we're going to go ahead and put that on the stove. Then we're going to go ahead and get started with a second dish. Is to prepare for the chicken marsala. And the secret to that is making the sauce. Now, I like many chefs at restaurants. You can make your own marsala sauce from home. And it's a little trick to it. I'm not going to give you the full ingredients to it, but I would tell you that it does have mirin. You could use mirin, you could use sake. And it depends on the par amount that you will be utilizing. That would enable you to actually get it down to that science. And also, once you have the veal comes down to you had a stock of veal to that, and you allow it to reduce. But today we are going to be utilizing they sell this in the store that is practically sort of made already. However, I'm only going to use that just as a baseline because my Marcella has to have more of an in-depthness to it. As a chef, I may probably use, and we all do, we utilize different base products, but we more like creating our own. Alright, so we have our string bean that we're going to go ahead and place onto the stove. That's going to probably take at least an hour, or close enough to that. Okay, so meanwhile, what we're going to go ahead and do is, in the preparation of this particular sauce, I'm going to utilize some, I would have utilized some shiitake mushroom, but seeing as that I don't have any shiitake mushrooms, I do have portobellos. Now I'm going to show you something here that we can still be able to work with. Portobello mushroom comes with, this is what a portobello mushroom is. Okay. Some of us sometimes see this growing in our backyard. I would urge that you know your vegetation or plant before you just go and pick it and decide to eat it and not know if that is a portobello mushroom. Okay, but it looks like a big cap, okay, hanging on the stem. All right, so what we're going to do is that we take a portobello mushroom, we break the stem off, and then we're going to core the inside of it. It has a little fuzzy section on the inside, nothing but strings. And what we're doing is that we're going to go ahead and practically just kind of scrape that away. Oh, by the way, I have my chicken already in the oven. So the chicken is already is actually baking right now. Just basic chicken drumsticks that is seasoned with whatever type of flavor season that you would like to use, and it's basically just bacon. Just season it and bake it. But I'm creating a sauce to go over it that's going to actually bring the chicken to life. Can you imagine that, bringing it to life? Anyhow, that's the fun part of being creative, is because you develop a sense of humor, what it is to not only be creative, but to put love into what you are making. And if you ain't got no love going into it, then you're in a world of trouble. Because you really got to love what you do, especially when it relates to this particular part of the work that I'm always so excited about. You know, just doing chefing work. I've been doing it for, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm not saying this just to say this. From the time I was age 5, I learned how to cook a breakfast. That's at age 5. And that was some 48 years ago. And now I'm far much more beyond just boiling eggs and making bacon in the oven. Now I'm into the creativity, and as all chefs, when we are doing anything as far as the means of creativity, is that we actually have a keen sense of actually tasting or knowing what that product or whatever you're making, what's the outcome of it before you begin. So that's kind of an advanced development stage in the category of your culinary skills that you have and would probably develop over a period of time. All right, so we're going to be using some, I use a portobello mushroom, considering the fact that I don't have any shiitake, as you could utilize what type of mushrooms you would like. And also I have some, I'm going to be using the red peppers, and I'm going to be using some red onions here. Usually I would prefer using the shiitake, but this is as close as I could get to the shiitake mushroom. So with the onions, I'm going to fine dice those because we are going to saute this. We're going to saute this as well as the mushrooms together. Prior to adding in the sauce, we're going to add some wine base to it. And I'm using some olive oil. Not time to pour it in yet, so let's go on ahead and finish preparing the onions. As I stated, that the shallots are like, it's like a cross transaction between a garlic and an onion. It's called a shallot. It's purple just like the red onions, but it has a garlic as well as a onion taste flavor. So I'm going to actually use this red onion, and I'm going to mince it up, and I'm going to add some garlic to it, and it's like we're creating our own shallot. For those beginners, again, that don't understand the proper way to use a knife, please make sure that you have one hand on top of the knife just resting. Your whichever arm that you are, whether you left or right, that's the arm that you're actually utilizing for going back and forth. Okay, and you want to keep shifting your onions so that you basically kind of get everything to be about the same bit size in dicing. Now if you have one of those food processors that you want to just toss it in there and let it do it for you, knock yourself out. As chefs, we like getting into really getting our hands busy, so doing this is just fun to us. We just like chopping away at things, you know. We're making enough for about 50 to cover at least 50 to 60 pieces of chicken. So we want just about enough sauce to make that possible. Just about there, a few more chops. nicely chopped and minced. Alright, we have our onions ready. Our mushrooms now. We'll cut it down in half, and then I'm gonna slice it. So it sort of look like the shiitake. Like I said, we want just about enough to make that sauce. We don't want to short none of the chicken, so that everything has a good coverage. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Almost look as if I'm working with a shiitake, but anyway. I'm going to probably add a little more, because keep in mind that mushrooms do shrink. And they shrink extremely fast when they're in the heat. Okay, so we add olive oil, and we're gonna allow that to get hot. We're gonna add a few more of these shiitake, of this portobello mushroom to this mixture. I think I may as well go ahead and use it all up. just about there. And we're getting ready to go ahead and put this baby to work. Alright. We want to make sure we start off with the shallots as well as, well, I say shallot, but the onions and the garlic as the first process before we are going to add in the add 2 tabs of the garlic. And use some hint of salt as well as pepper. About almost a minute and a half in the sauteing process of the onion and garlic, salt, pepper. I'm gonna add in the mushrooms. We're going to combine everything together. And in the process of doing that, the mushrooms are going to absorb all of the elements of the oil, the mushrooms as well as the onion. It's going to absorb it because the mushroom is like a sponge. It's like a sponge, so it will absorb it. But that's quite all right. That's what we would like. That's what we are looking for anyway. We're going to give that about close to a minute. And then we're going to hit it with some cooking house. This is a little bit of a Collins. And it has a bit of a sweetness to it, so that's what I'm looking for anyway in the Marcello. Usually the store brand of how they prepare this does not have that intense taste as far as the sweetness. It just has a base process or a base taste to it. We are going to also add in the diced red peppers that are already prepared. Last and not least, we're going to add let's check the chicken to make sure that it's, oh man, our chicken is looking right. This is our seasoned chicken. Already done. They're at the point right now where I'm gonna go ahead and stop the oven from trying to cook or to dry them out. We don't want to do that. We want the rest of the sauce to marinate. I want it to actually marinate in the sauce, but I want it to synchronize. So that's why we're making this sauce in this particular way. So we're gonna add these 3 bags to that in about a minute. That's to give it a chance to start forming itself together. And then we are going to then layer it over the chicken. And for those that are going to be joining us for our early dinner, which is our lunch segment, we're going to be having that along with some string beans and mashed potatoes. It's going to be going along with some string beans and mashed potatoes. So I'm going to let you see what the finishing product is going to be in just a second. That's hot. Yes, that's the fire. Because it's Campbell's killer. I think Campbell needs a lot of help. But I'm gonna fix Campbell. I'm gonna fix Campbell, all right. See, they're not gonna really tell you the truth. That if you want to consider this to be a Marsala sauce, Campbell, I think you need to come into my kitchen for a little bit. You would be amazed at what you thought you knew, but I'm going to show you. Yes, sir. All right. Sauce is starting to blend. We're going to go ahead and just take the base of this. Remember, that's the only reason why I'm using this, because of the base. needs to cook down. I need to add a little bit more garlic to it because it needs to have that bite taste, you know, that taste that make you say, I need a little hit more of that sauce. That's what the chefs be looking for. They look for that hit. And I want a home run hit. I'm not looking for this, not any type of hit. But it gotta be a home run hit. Right there. I'm using a hint of clove, some cardamom, and finally a little bit complete for bringing my flavor back. Sauce is looking rich, and it intensifies it as it begins to heat through. Because the base may be creating that, then be ready to probably add maybe a half cup of water. So you don't want it to be too thick. We're gonna allow that to thicken up a little bit. Give it just a few minutes to bring it home before we actually going ahead and prepare ourselves to layer it on top of the chicken. We're gonna check this sauce one more time, but we probably gonna, like I said, we're gonna add then just I'll add in a cup of water because it's gonna thicken up. And also keep in mind that because it's called Marsala, it's Marsala wine sauce, and it has to have a little sweetness in the background. When you are preparing this dish, if you did not prepare the sauce by yourself, what I'm saying is that there is two parts to doing Marsala, and you got to reduce these wines, and then you add in the veal stock. Okay, the veal stock is what you make if you take beef bones and you just boil it until it creates with celery and onion, and it boils, keep boiling and keep boiling and keep boiling and keep boiling. The marrow from the bone is what creates what is called veal. And that veal, once you take it and you put it into a shallow pan and put it in the refrigerator, it becomes a gel. And now you remove that gel, and all you need is a part of it to add it to your wine sauce, and now you have created your own Marsala stock. It's same for Marsala or Madeira, but it's just having that veal. That's something that a chef prepares and have that in advance for your finishing touch. So as I'm making this right here now, I'm basically right now, because I'm using that particular brand, it has a floury powder to it, so therefore it's going to thicken up. So I want it to be a little bit loosened so that it has a better spread on top of the chicken. It's pretty much more what I'm looking for, rather than a bit much more better than what it was with just the base. Because the base will throw you off by the way that they actually prepared that. But that's normal anyhow. Not everyone is willing to just stand back and just give you what their secret ingredients are. But as a chef, you taste, and your tongue tells you what is in that, and all you gotta do is keep practicing until you figure it out. But it's a natural thing for those who are kind of born into this, and especially if your love and desire is to actually do this in such a way, and it makes you very creative. So in about, say about 2 more minutes, our sauce will be ready. As I state, we're gonna layer this over these. We're gonna layer that sauce over these chicken. And if you happen to be in town, stop on into Chef Anthony's kitchen, and you could have an opportunity to get your plate and to taste of the world's dynamics. Know that we just have fun doing this. So as I said, tomorrow we'll be enjoying this with some string beans, some seasoned string beans, mashed potato, and Marsala drumsticks. Sit and warm it, and that's good. Oh my Lord. one thing about having preparing and making things happen is having the patience. Everything doesn't falls itself into a quick black window. Bam, that's it, you're done. Abracadabra. What's your abracadabra is how you create. It'd be abracadabra up here, but then bring the abracadabra out of here. Bring the abracadabra out of here. All right. I think we're getting to that 2-minute mark. There's one thing that we're gonna add to that is a cube of butter. Reason being is that in every good and great wine dish, that butter defines or brings it to a actual picture perfect. Yes, and it's not adding grease. What you're doing, you're just defining it down to a science. Do your work, butter. Tighten it up. To be. Let me set this over here. Listen. Ladle. Straighten me back. All right, folks.